elephant in the room. Okay? So we have an elephant in the room, and it's not PHP. Okay. We need to talk about this for just a second. I know it's not easy. So can we have a future in the web apps world without Apple being involved as we want to?
Well, I would say yes, because we're already having a future, especially on desktop. So we're seeing a lot of uptake on desktop apps, and like Windows is still alive. During the pandemic, Chrome OS has grown a lot. So I definitely do think we have a future. And I do understand the elephant in this room is like, are they going to implement all these APIs that people need, especially on mobile devices? I used to say like maybe not, but now I'm seeing that with the more and more pressure, the more like people demand things, people end up implementing things. We have seen that with like webcasts, and like with just look at like Meet and Google Teams and Zoom, what kind of features that they've gained the last couple of years, because like that was required. And I saw the same. We saw people from Apple saying like, well, we don't like service work, and suddenly it's there. Suddenly they implemented parts of web app manifest, not enough for what I would like, but like if the market really demands these things, like eventually they will be implemented. We have seen that again and again in history, even with like Internet Explorer, like, oh, never gonna implement these things. We got Edge. We have all these features now. So like things can change, and I'm positive. We just kind of like keep on demanding it, and showing that these like great experiences are possible, because then other people will demand it as well, and eventually we will get it.
Probably just like to add as well that I agree with Kenneth that there is a future for web applications, even if there isn't support for certain features in Safari. At the moment, even on Mac OS, you're able to get a PWA running with modern features using Edge or Chrome. So as long as we have other browsers on the platform, then there is a future, and yeah, the dream is still alive.
I'll just add a yes there as well, especially from the perspective of reach and impact that a web developer can have with their code. Even without being able to, if you have limited support on iOS, like this is the progressive aspect of a progressive web app, it should still work in Safari on iOS if you're thinking about what capabilities can you deliver. So I hope that we'll see a lot of these APIs land in Safari sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, a lot of the core stuff, especially the most important things for building a high quality PWA, are already there. And it is the case that you could reach this enormous number of users with your web app. So if you do end up having to do something specialized for iOS, that's a pretty small incremental amount of work. So if you think of landing the web code first, making it work great everywhere that has the capabilities that you need, and then if you need to look at rolling something custom for iOS, there's still going to be a pretty small amount of incremental work compared to building everything custom for every single platform that you need to support.
So I'll jump in now. So I agree with both what particularly Penny is saying, and also what Diego and Kenneth are saying. But I kind of take a different approach to this. So we know that, for instance, if we look at what Penny was saying about having the capabilities, we know at the same time that, and something that Maximilian has written a lot about, is that the stuff is pretty broken at the same time. So now I don't think we can particularly, we can point at Apple in some respect. They do provide something like 89% of the commits that come into WebKit. But having said that, I'm able to jump into WebKit code. I know not every web developer is going to be able to do this, but it's not that hard to jump into WebKit code if you want to fix something and actually go and fix it. It's actually, of all the browser code, it's actually the easiest, most sane code to work with. Speaking as an ex-Basilian, somebody who's dealt with Gecko code for a number of years, somebody who's actually jumping into Chromium code and going, oh my God, what is this? It's a blessing. So at the same time, there are a lot of issues. But Penny's absolutely right that you want to do your layouts. We have pretty good Flexbook support. But it does fall down. Things like releasing a Safari version that doesn't work with IDB anymore, where it breaks, where things like local storage don't work, or things like that are just really bad. So those things get fixed, but they don't get fixed quickly enough. So there is a balance there. So yes, there's a little bit of blame to go around, and I think we are getting that. To Kenneth's point about the APIs, Kenneth and I have a long-going kind of disagreement about this. Not in a bad way, but we take different perspectives on the Fugu APIs. So, and also coming from, being an ex-Brazilian, we work at Mozilla very closely with Apple in kind of trying to keep the baseline of the platform as good as possible, but kind of Google and Intel and so on, folks working on Fugu were always many years ahead. So it's kind of like, Google has, for instance, I think it's we'll say about 5 to 10 times as many engineers working on these things as, for instance, Mozilla or Apple. So it makes it also very difficult just in terms of person power to actually add all these things. Even if they wanted all the features, it would be still very difficult to add them, just in terms of resourcing. So things like that. And that's kind of an excuse of a lot of people say, well, Apple's the richest company in the world. They should be able to fund these things properly. They got other priorities. I don't know.
So I totally agree with what other people said about we still have a lot of reach with, even if all APIs aren't supported the same. And another aspect that I would like to point out is that web developers are adapting latest APIs more quickly than 10 years ago. So that drive will also be positive on the future of PWAs. So since web developers are moving fast, and even the users are using more web apps than before, the browser vendors will someday somehow need to support the APIs to survive in the browser world. So I also agree with what Marco said about resources and priorities, because we're kind of experiencing the same thing in Samsung. So anyways, I think we have a bright future for PWAs.
Great. And Jason, the last one. But not least.
Push notifications on iOS.
Oh, no. You mentioned that.
So quick.
I am in the same way in which I'm tired of having conversations about native versus web. I'm tired of having to have conversations with people who want to build progressive web apps where I have to say, okay, this is great, but when it comes to iOS, you can't do push notifications, and having that be an obstacle to adoption.
Yeah.
So I just want that. I want that topic to go away.
Yeah.